faith as a young teenager in a traditional church, and what sticks out to me as I reflect back on my journey towards discovering God's grace was generosity. No questions asked environments of welcome and hospitality. I only went to that church for a year before we moved house, and that band of old ladies who loved me into the kingdom of God don't have a clue about the seeds of faith that they planted into me. I never gave anything to that church in my time attending, yet their generosity fed me tea and toast as a simple act of love. They generously paid for me to go on a trip to Coventry Cathedral, where I discovered the awe and wonder of God. And they generously embraced me into their worshipping community, singing in the choir, even though I didn't read well, and I'm sure I couldn't properly hit a note. They were practicing grace-filled generosity and stewardship, and the fruit of their labours in planting that seed of faith was my life and ministry. We can often think narrowly around generosity, that it's about possessions and wealth. But living as generous people is a more encompassing dynamic. The key thing about generosity, that it's all about paying it forward, a cascading of grace and abundance, which goes right back to Christ's actions on the cross. Generosity isn't just a nice thing to do that makes us feel that warm glow, but it's a response to the generosity that we've received from God. I am first and foremost a generous person because Christ generously gave of his self through the love to break the chains of sin and death. We see Jesus sacrificing his life, and we see him generously giving us forgiveness and grace. So, sacrifice and generosity go hand in hand. It is about money and how we finance the work of God's mission, but it's also about our time and our attention, our talents, and even our own comfort, needs, and reputation. There is no one way to be generous, but to be good stewards of our resources, our wealth, time, and attention, we are all called into generosity for the building up of God's kingdom. The cost of being a disciple calls us into a place of sacrifice, choosing to give away money instead of spending it on something that we want, choosing to give time and energy to help run the food bank instead of going out with our friends and family, turning up early to church to make sure that it's set up for worship, and most importantly, the kettle has been boiled. Wherever we choose to do God's mission, instead of doing the alternative, we're living our lives as generous people, because we first and foremost know the goodness of God in our lives. We don't give so that the church is how we want it to be. This is not a gym membership where we pay for a service. We give so that the work of God may be undertaken, so that new disciples are drawn into the life under God's grace. We pay it forward to the next generation. Simply put, generosity and stewardship, as one of our branches, is a gospel issue that creates a canopy over the whole mission of the church.